$32 seconds.
Heaps of time. Too much time, if anything.
Did you want a bottle of water?
Actually, I think I need a bottle of water just to water out of for the...
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are mere moments away from our master in the garden and in the kitchen. And of course, our Laidley Spring Festival is super excited to welcome back to the Valley, Paul West. He is a trained chef, also the author of the Edible Garden Cookbook, Growing Guide and Homegrown. Of course, he's well known for his role in hosting 4 seasons of the television show A River Cottage, Australia, and he's been a regular guest presenter on ABC. So he loves showing people how easy it is to prepare delicious meals using fresh, vibrant produce without blowing the budget. Are we ready to roll, Paul?
Tracy, I'm ready to roll.
Ready to roll, just like Paw Patrol.
Yeah.
And except it's Paul West. Ladies and gentlemen, say hello and welcome the fabulous Paul West to the Laidley stage.
Thank you, Tracy. I might have to think about a rebrand to Paw Patrol. No, that's, get around Australia, get a big Land Cruiser, cruise around, cooking and gardening around the place. Hello, Laidley. How's it going? Yeah, going good. That's what we like to hear. Thanks so much for coming out today, everyone. Has everyone been enjoying the festival so far? Oh, so good. Did everyone see the parade? Oh. Now, not every country town in Australia puts on a parade like the Laidley Spring Parade. I was had the pleasure of being in one of the big old international trucks for council. So good. Waving to the kids, throwing out lollies. Everyone's loving the weather. Did everyone come last year? Did everyone come last year? Oh, well, hopefully you're really enjoying yourself this year, because on the Friday night last year was a hot day like this, and they had all the food trucks set up, and then this huge monsoonal Queensland storm absolutely dumped at about 5 o'clock. But did anyone come along last night for the bands and for the street food? So good. That's the enthusiasm we like to see, Shane. Ho, ho, ho. The nasi goreng from the Malaysian place and the kebabs from the guys on the other side of the marquee. Top notch. So, I've got you're stuck with me for 1 whole hour here. So you're in the sun, I'm in the shade. So this is easy. I've got the breeze coming in, it's so nice. So I'm going to do a little bit of cooking today for you, featuring some of the amazing produce that you've got on tap here in the Lockyer Valley. And I went for a bit of a walk around yesterday after the event, and what I really love about a town like Laidley is that you go 1 block that way and you're into farmland. Like, you've got a huge crop of brassicas or some sort of broccoli just on the other side of town there. I love when we're so close to where our food's grown. Because I personally love to grow a lot of food at home. I did a lot of food growing, a lot of livestock raising on River Cottage, which some of you may have seen. Did anyone see? Anyone not see River Cottage? Would anyone like to see another season of River Cottage? No, it's done. No one does. You're just lying. You're just saying that to make me feel good, right? Who wants to take a guess? Does anyone know how long ago that was? The year was 1916. World War I had just come to an end, and River Cottage started on the south coast of New South Wales. So we first shot in 2013. 2013. You may be wondering why I don't look like I do on the box. You know, it's like, oh, geez, the camera was kind to him, like this one. But 10 years ago. So there's always a question I like to address at the head, because everyone's, someone usually yells it out pretty quickly. If you could ask one question about River Cottage, what would it be? It is... Oh, no, yes, I hate the pig. It's usually Where's Digger? Where's Digger? And so he's actually a backup for Paw Patrol. So you've got Chase and Marshall, and Digger's the Australian member of Paw Patrol. He's going good. I always like to tell everyone he's going good, because he is. He's now 12 years old, and he's the canine mayor of Bermagui. So he walks around, he doesn't wear a collar, he's never on the lead, and he just struts around town like he is the most kingly dog on the face of the earth. No, he doesn't chew the ankles anymore, but he does, one thing he does, he hates when I say goodbye to people. So if we're in a house, we've got guests come over, I go, oh, see you, thanks for coming over. He's like, oh, he goes off his head. So Digger's good. That's what I always like to cover off. And I never bring him to festivals or events like this because it's too damaging for my ego. Because it would be like, it was very nice having a photo with a bunch of you there before. It was like, made me feel really good about myself. But if Digger was here, I'd just be standing there like his handler going, oh, Mr. Digger needs to go backstage now. He's a little bit overwhelmed. So, now, like I said, you've got me for an hour. I'm going to do some cooking. I sent through 3 recipes for the good folks at Lockyer Valley and for the Laidley Spring Festival, but there's no way that I'm going to cook 3 recipes here in an hour, okay? Just a heads up. I'm going to do 2, and I'm going to modify a couple of them so I can get through, because what generally happens, and you're witnessing it happening right now, is that I get up on stage to do a cooking demonstration, and instead of cooking, I just end up telling long-winded stories. So I'm going to try to mix it up a little bit of both. Try to do a little bit of cooking and slightly less long-winded storytelling. So far, we're 5 minutes in, haven't touched an ingredient. So things are going well. True to form. All right, so I'm going to cook 2 things today, and all of it is featuring amazing produce from right here in the Lockyer Valley, right here on your doorstep. So when I'm cooking, you would have seen a lot of what we did on River Cottage was really simple food, right? Like it wasn't... Do you remember the first season of MasterChef? Does anyone can trace your mind back to season 1 and some of the recipes that they used to cook on the first season of MasterChef? It was stuff like shepherd's pie. They did shepherd's pie in season 1 of MasterChef, and that's excellent. I'm so glad that that's what they did. Has anyone seen the more recent seasons? It's like the complexity and difficulty of food that they prepare on that show now is absolutely mind-boggling. It would put most professional fine dining chefs in a nervous panic. But I feel like that's a bit of a disservice now, because when season 1 was out and people were cooking really simple food, they watched it and they went, oh, you know what? I can do that. Like, I can actually do that. Like, I'm going to go and get the ingredients for that, and I'm going to cook it, because 1, it looks delicious, and 2, like, that was really straightforward. But now, when we're watching contestants cook things like Peter Gilmore snow eggs, has anyone cooked a Peter Gilmore snow egg before? What? No, I absolutely have not. Because for me, now that I'm not working like professionally as a chef in kitchens full time, the idea of getting a 47 ingredient, 21,000 step recipe that takes 2 days to prepare, I'm not into that. The only multi-day recipe that I'm interested in now is fruitcake or a little bit of bread. And I had an amazing fruitcake from over the road at the quilting festival yesterday. I can't help myself. I may have eaten half of it last night in my room. I wasn't crying myself to sleep. Maybe I should have been, but I was just like, oh, this fruitcake's so good. I can't stop. So, and the challenge is, now is that we're all so busy, right? And I've got kids, I've got a family, like I've worked full time. So there's not, like I don't want to come home and go, right, 5:30, made it home. I'm going to cook for the next 4 hours and my kids are going to eat at 9 o'clock tonight. Mainly because when you've got young children at home as well, you go to cook. So you've got young kids and cook for them. Yeah, cook for them. Yeah, kind of. Yeah. Having worked in fine dining, I've prepared meals for some of the world's most esteemed restaurant critics. They're a walk in the park. Compared to a 9 and 7-year-old. Actually, they're pretty good now. But when they were like 8 and 6, prepare something, it's their favourite thing. What's for dinner? Oh, food. Delicious food. I don't like that. I don't want that. I'm not hungry. And then at that point I realised I was becoming my father when I said, well, that's dinner, and if you don't eat it, it's going to be there for breakfast for you in the morning. I was like, full circle. Not that I ever did that, don't worry. As a parent, that's generally what you eat for dinner. I find. So, yes, cooking. It's going to happen. We are going to cook today. Yes, don't worry. It's not story time here with Paul. Otherwise, we'd had a nice upholstered couch for me to sit on and a glass of wine that I could twirl and be like, oh, do you remember season 3 of River Cottage episode 10? So 2 simple things, because I like to cook pretty straightforward and simple. I like to incorporate meat into my cookery, definitely, especially when it's amazing locally grown beef like this. Beef is like my absolute favourite meat to cook with. It's my death row meal. Actually, I'm going to cook one of what I consider my death row meal today, which is steak tartare. And when I say cook, it's not really cooking. There's no heat involved, because it's a raw preparation of steak. Who likes their steak here well done? no judgment whatsoever. There's absolutely no judgment. Who has ever eaten raw steak before? It's the best. And yeah, it's so good. But it's not like getting a T-bone and, you know, having it blood dripping down your arm and chewing on it like you're some sort of caveman. You take a really, really nice cut of meat, one of the premium cuts, and you cut it up really, really finely, and you season it with some amazing things. I'm going to stop talking about it. I'm going to start doing it. So we've got this beautiful sirloin, one of the absolute pinnacle cuts. Who here would put sirloin as their favourite cut of steak? It's pretty good. It's definitely up there for me. Who here have we got in the I fillet camp? Shame on you guys. Now I'm coming for judgment. I remember talking to, you know how in Australia we're like, when it comes to barbecues, mate, we're king. We're the best. And, you know, we define the Australian barbecue by onions, pouring some beer on the onions, burning some sausages and cooking some steaks well done. Has anyone here met Argentinians and seen what they do with barbecues? Amazing. So amazing. We've got so much to learn. And I was talking to some Argentinian guys, and they said, well, we don't get it. We don't get your obsession in Australia with eye fillet. Like, one, there's not much of it. And two, it's got no texture, it's got no fat. And I know that's the appeal, right? Like, there's no, as my wife puts it, gristly bits. She's like, gristly bits, yuck. I don't want gristly bits. Meanwhile, like, they're chewing on the T-bone, like, gristly bits are where it's at. And so in Argentina, they're like, so what if you guys don't like the eye fillet, what do you do with it? And they're like, we mince it for burgers. It's their burger because there's no connective tissue. So like it's perfect for turning into burgers or something like steak tartare. It's a sacrilege. So here it's the finest cut in Australia, but they're like, ugh. So they like to, when it comes to barbecue, do things like rump because it works, or flank or skirt. Some of those cuts from deeper into the animal that are still tender enough to be able to barbecue and not be tough. You know, my absolute favourite thing to cook though is slow cooking. There, you know, you get like shin and neck and tail and the most gristly of the gristly bits. And even though it's my favourite thing to cook, it would make for a really boring on-stage cooking demonstration. Can you imagine doing a slow cooker on stage? It'd be like 15 minutes of prep and then into the slow cooker, and then you'd have to listen to me for 3 hours while it cooked. And, oh yeah, just another hour and 45 minutes to go, everyone. Now, where was I? But I remember when I used to work in fine dining, I used to work in a restaurant called Vue de Monde. Has anyone ever come across Vue de Monde? Anyway, at the time it was the best restaurant in Australia. I'm definitely not at that level of cookery anymore, but when I was, it was the kind of place where, and this is the most genius move I've ever seen in a restaurant business ever, they didn't print prices on the menu. It was that kind of place. Because it was, you know, like some sort of fancy fashion shop where if you have to ask, you shouldn't be there. And because it was such a special occasion restaurant, everyone was always there to impress. It was a big anniversary, it was a big business deal, it was a hot date, it was some, you know, celebrity or whatever. At the end of introducing the menu, the front of house person, the waiter, the waitress would be like, and do we need to discuss price? And of course they'd be like, oh, no, of course not. And so we used to have a game as chefs called Bill Drop, where, because we could see the dining room and we would like to see people's reaction when the bill went down. Now, when I say like the food was expensive, we were getting paid $5 an hour as a chef, so we kind of thought it was quite funny. But you'd go in there and be like, table 10, bill drop, table 10. And the people would be there, they've been drinking all this wine that they don't know how much costs them either, the way some they go, I've got this beautiful 72 Chablis. I mean, it sounds great. It's only $140 by the glass, but whatever. They didn't know that. Like, bill drop, table 10, bill drop. And people would be smiling away like, ha ha ha. And then you'd see the bill go down. It's in a little case. And they'd open it up and all the chefs would be there at the pass like, yeah, here we go. And you just see the colour drain from their faces as they patted their pants down for their credit cards because they didn't. I hope my credit's good on this one. So when you're working in that environment, you're not really dealing with food ingredients, right? So you're dealing with the raw products of food like meat and vegetables and flour and sugar and all that kind of stuff. But what you're making isn't, like, it's not really food. It's kind of like an experience, right? Like, the wait staff used to have to stand there and tell people how to eat it. Have you ever, like, you know, since you were maybe beyond 2 years old, had someone tell you how you need to eat it? Be like, and if you just take that implement to your left and tap the egg 3 times and it'll crack open, and think about standing on a windy seashore when it happens. So it was experiential cooking. But who cooks like that? No one does. And so I started working in the bistro part of the restaurant as well, which was a little bit more traditional cuisine, traditional French cuisine. And that's where I really came across and developed a passion for steak tartare. Because it's a very classic French dish, and it usually uses a really nice cut of meat. I feel it is a perfect candidate, as is the sirloin. And so what I'm doing, I'm hand dicing it. So I'm just going to cut that down into little battens. And so what I did learn working in particular in the more simple environment of the bistro is that when you cook simple food, there's no smoke and mirrors to hide behind. You know, there's no twist, there's no razzle dazzle. When you're cooking something really simple, the most critical thing that you need is quality produce. Because if you have good ingredients, the work's already done. You like harvest fruit off the tree at home? You know, you ever like just pick something straight off the tree, you've grown it yourself, it tastes absolutely delicious, you can't get it that good from the shop or anywhere. And to do something to that, to do like some sort of crazy culinary experiment where you're like, oh, look at this, I've dehydrated it and turned it into this and roasted it and done this, it's almost sacrilege. So when you've got good stuff like this amazing sirloin steak, I like to keep it so simple. So I'm just going to keep dicing that up. So I'm 15 minutes in, and here's where we've got to. So you can see where 3 recipes is a bad idea for me. So 15 minutes in, I've diced about a tablespoon of steak, but I've told some stories, so that's the main thing. So I'm going to keep just thinly dicing this. And you want to make sure that, you know, you've kind of got as small as you can tolerate doing. And then, so I've cut it 1 into strips off the steak, then into kind of little matchstick strips, and then we're just going to chop it along like this. And then I'm going to start seasoning it with a few little extra bits, and in particular things that are pickled and have that salty, acidic tang, because what the meat represents and what the meat brings to the dish is a really nice, full, fatty, umami flavour. And umami is that kind of nice, savoury flavour. But I like eating steak tartare, but I wouldn't just tuck into a bowl of raw steak like that. Getting the kind of garnishes and the way that you season it up is just as critical as how good this beautiful piece of sirloin is. So I'm going to just keep dicing those along there. So I'm also going to do some Q&A at the end here as well. So if you've got any burning River Cottage questions, any trivia questions that relate to River Cottage, make sure you start thinking of them now, because at the end people get embarrassed, you know, they can feel a bit under pressure. There's only 5 minutes left. So if you've got any questions about what's going down with River Cottage, I'd love you to hit me with them at the end of this. So here we go, keep dicing along. I'm probably actually going to have to pull my finger out and do something here so I can actually prepare 1 recipe in the hour. So just kind of lay them like a little stack of dominoes. There's a little bit of tendon on the back of that I'll take off. And so we want to make sure that, we're avoiding any of those big chunky bits of fat or any of the connective tissue. Because we're just dicing it like this, you don't really have you want it to be nice and soft. You don't want to get a piece of like silver side in there, like a big bit of connective tissue that you have to really chew on. You want it to be really easy to eat the steak tartare. Now, nearly done there. And so after this as well, I've got some of the amazing chili metwurst from Schulte's. And some of the other ingredients I'm going to feature, we've got some vegetable produce from Australia Organic Farms. We've also got the incredible Native Oz Bush Foods Aussie salt. And so all this together is going to come up and give you a little bit of a taste of the Lockyer Valley, which is exactly what we're after. And actually, as tempted as I would be to eat all of this for my own lunch, because it's about that time of the day, you can have a taste, especially you lovely folk at the front here who've been enduring the blasting Queensland sun. Everyone's been asking me, like, oh, are you enjoying this Queensland weather? Because I come from the far south coast of New South Wales, so it's a fair way away. I'm so far south, they play AFL. How's that? We're actually, there's parts of Victoria that are further north than where I am in New South Wales. But it was 32 degrees down there yesterday. Insane, 32 degrees. So I brought this weather with me for you long-suffering Queenslanders. You're welcome. I know you never get blazing, sunny, warm days like this. So usually we're about 15 degrees at this time of year. And the weather comes straight off Mount Kosciuszko, which is due west from where I live. But this year, it's 32 degrees. So that's a bit crazy. All right, so I'm going to put this to one side. Put that down there. And that's where I'd really like to pull one out where I go, here's one I prepared earlier. But unfortunately, it doesn't work like that. So we've got our steak tartare. Now it's time to season it. So like I said, we want to, because this has got this quite fatty, raw meat, rich flavour, we need some things that are going to cut through it. So pickles, gherkins, perfect candidate. So into that, I'm going to put about, there is a recipe card for this, but I'm just going to eyeball it. I'm going to put about 4 pickles. I'm also going to use some of these beautiful little capers. How am I going to do this? Here we go, just drain those off in there. Drain the liquid off. And probably about the same amount of capers. And so the capers are going to have that really intense salty hit. They're also pickled as well, so they've got a little bit of an acidic tang. And the gherkins themselves are sweet and pickly and delicious. Tracy, am I in trouble? You're up here like...
No.
Okay, just checking. Whew.
I'm just letting you know that good buddies from Paul from Schulte's.
Yes.
Down there, and so is Dougie from Native Oz.
Where are they?
No, I've got them signed.
Oh, okay, right. Just so whenever the time comes. Well, once I just chop up these, I'll bring Doug up to talk about the salt, and then we'll get Mr. Schulte up promptly afterwards, I reckon.
Fantastic.
All right, thank you. Thanks for the update. Hey, great team here. Massive shout out to the team at Lockyer Valley for putting this incredible festival on, to Rachel Lane and her team. Really amazing job. I get to go to kind of festivals all over Australia, and this is a really good one. So I hope you appreciate what a good thing you've got going on here, and hopefully this won't be my last visit to the Laidley Spring Festival. So chopping this up, and now you've got to be a little bit less precise, and you can just start running the knife over the top of it. I essentially want to just mince it with the knife. Now, no, don't do this in a blender, because you don't want to turn it into a paste. They've still got to have texture. And you want it to be a similar texture to how you've cut up the meat. So if you just see any of those big chunks, just work them back into the middle. Here we go. Looking good. All right, so we're coming together here on the steak tartare really nicely now. Now, there's a couple of ways you can serve it. Some people like to serve it as just the mince, and you serve all the garnishes around it. But me personally, I like to actually make it up. So people can just tuck straight in. And this really is, like, if I ever go out, which is very rare because I live on the far south coast, we don't have a lot of restaurants, but if I ever go out, this is always top of my list for things to get and eat. I'm just going to put some of that in there because I'm not sure, I don't want to put too much and not be able to take it out. So here we go. So start working that. Put a slightly big tablespoon, 2 teaspoons into that. A little bit of this lovely Worcestershire sauce. I've got about 2 tablespoons again in there. I won't put it all in. So the key with these things is to kind of add a little bit, taste a little bit, make sure it's in the place that you like. And then, because you can always add more, but once you put something in, it's really hard to take it out. All right, so I'm giving a little bit of stir. Got some parsley here as well. It's going to go in there. Chop that up. Here we go. The suspense, ladies and gentlemen. Oh yeah, that's right. Scintillating cooking. That's the level of enthusiasm we like, sir. I remember when I first started doing River Cottage, and my grandfather, who was a kind of career stockman for his whole life, retired horseman, man of the land type character. And he's like, "What are you doing these days with yourself, young fella?" And I'll be like, "Well, Pop, I'm cooking on TV." He's like, "What?" He couldn't believe it. He's like, "You're cooking on television?" He's like, "Yeah, and sometimes I go to like festivals out in the country and I cook out there as well." He's like, "What, are you in the canteen?" Eh? And he's like, "No, I cook on stage." And he's like, "What?" He's like, "So you let me get this straight. You go to a festival and people watch you cook on stage." I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, he's like, "I've been with your grandmother for 65 years. I haven't watched her cook once." So I was like, "Thanks, Pop. That's great. Great vote of enthusiasm there." But once I got onto Gardening Australia, he was stoked. He's like, "Saw you on Gardening Australia there, young fella. Bloody proud of you, grandson. Taught you everything you know." So a little bit of really finely cut spring onion now, just to help cut through again. So we've got the pickles adding that slightly acidic, that kind of pickle, sweet, savoury, acidic sense. And then we've got these, I'm just going to do one really finely cut, just the white part in this instance, spring onion as well. So there we go, look at that. It's wafer thin, absolutely delicious. Now we're getting pretty close to having a taste now. I'm building that away, happy with where it's at. Now it's time, moment of truth. Oh, got my Chuck's cloth stuck to my leg. There we go. It's in there. Okay, here we go. I don't know how it's going to turn out. I haven't put the salt in it yet, but it's looking good. Look at that. If you like steak tartare, that's your thing. If you're not into raw meat, you're like, "Is that guy eating pet mince?" Oh, you saw it here first. Paw Patrol's going to be up here in a sec trying to chase me down for it. We want the meaty bites. Oh, yum. Has anyone here not tried steak tartare before? You are definitely the ones that are going to get a taste. Because it's like one of those things where you're like, "Ugh, raw steak, delicious, disgusting, I'd never eat that." But it's not just a raw steak, right? It's not like eating this. That I would not encourage you to eat. But this, totally different kettle of fish. So what we're going to do, give that a little bit of Tabasco, the most essential sauce in any fridge. Put it on everything, even your ice cream. Maybe not the ice cream. Don't believe a word I said just then. So I'll give that a little bit of a stir. There's probably two dishes that I can think of that sound not that appealing on paper, but when you actually eat them are mind-blowing. Steak tartare is one. Who wants to take a guess at what the other one is? It's a Scottish thing. Haggis. You ever remember the episode where we made goat haggis in River Cottage? And it had the esophagus coming out of the pot, where the foam came out of the esophagus. I've been to Scotland and I didn't have better haggis there. Because it was like the haggis all kind of came from the supermarket and was sous vide, but it sounds terrible, right? You're like, so you gently simmer some organs, then you mince them, and then you sew them inside to a stomach and then you slice it. It's like, what is wrong with you? That is disgusting. But then you actually eat it and you're like, man, those Scots are onto something. Has anyone actually eaten haggis before? What do you think? It's good. It's good, right? And it's one of those things where, people are like, "Oh, hate offal. Like, how can you eat that kind of stuff?" Has anyone here killed their own livestock before? There'll be a few people here, I imagine. So one of the reasons why you eat offal is because when you kill livestock fresh, at home or on the farm, you can't eat the meat straight away. The meat needs to hang. It needs to soften and hang. Rigor mortis needs to get through. But, you've been working, you've been up since sunrise, you're ready for some breakfast, you've just, killed a goat or a lamb or a cow. The offal is what you can eat straight away. So usually in River Cottage, when we'd kill any livestock, we'd do the deed, we'd get the carcass hung in a cool room, and then I'd take the blood, and then I'd take the liver into the kitchen, and I'd make black sausage and fry up liver and cook everyone breakfast with some fresh eggs and some greens from the garden. So I think it's time, let's get Doug up here. You there, Doug? Oh, hello, Doug. Here he comes. Ladies and gentlemen, huge round of applause for Doug from Native Oz Bush Foods. You got a mic, Doug? Oh yeah, he comes. This man's on it. How are you, mate?
Good, mate. How are you?
I'm going really well. Now, I've used a little bit of your amazing Aussie soul. Do you just want to talk us through what goes into the blend first?
So we use a Pink River Murray salt as the base.
Yes.
And then we add all our special herbs and spices from there.
Oh.
All native inspired.
Now, does that mean that you and Tracy can't travel on the same plane because it's such a secret mix that if something happened to both of you, the secret ingredients of the bush salt would be lost forever?
Yeah, pretty close, man.
Can you tell without getting the blend, you've got bush tomato in there. Is that one of the main ingredients?
In that one, no. So that one's got native river mint. And our salt bush. So yeah. And it's all pretty good. And I've actually got a bush bubbles because I know that you like that one. So get that in there.
That was a lifesaver yesterday. I don't know if you've tried one of their soft drinks, but this one's made out of the native peach, otherwise known as the Kwandong. Oh, I think I had the Davison plum one yesterday.
Yeah, so we've got Davison plum and Kakadu plum.
Oh, Doug, so good. Now, when people think about Australian cuisine, Doug, we think about Lamingtons and barbecues and all that kind of stuff. But really, what you're dealing with here is the oldest Australian cuisine, right? The food that's been on this continent for forever, and as traditionally, maybe by a large part of Australian society, been ignored. Are you finding that a lot more people are starting to embrace what Indigenous food has to offer in Australia?
Yeah, so there is quite a few people actually starting to turn to get some Indigenous knowledge, especially on what's actually out there, because you guys just see it as a bit of bush. I actually see it as my supermarket.
Yeah.
We've got proteins, we've got everything, and then proteins comes in form of plants as well.
Yes. Like acacia seed, thing like that, or
yeah, your salt bush. So salt bush is 20% less sodium than regular salt, but it's also high protein, so it makes why it's a good lamb.
Yeah, so that's why they grade. And like the thing that I love about, say, something like salt bush as well is not only is it a great ingredient for us, not only can sheep thrive on it and taste delicious, but it also heals country, right? Like it draws salt out of the soil and then goes into sheep where it's not damaging the landscape, and it actually allows other plants to grow in its wake.
Yeah, so it's basically self-mulching, so it's also adding that to the soil to recondition the soil. Like you said, it loves to drink the salt out of the soils as well. So it's quite an interesting plant.
Now, how many, off the top of your head, how many Indigenous ingredients do you kind of know about, Doug? I mean, it's probably a list as long as Father Christmas's naughty and nice list, but are we talking hundreds?
Yeah,
more?
Yeah, has to be. Yeah, I'd sort of I'll be driving down the road. If you ever come driving with me, have your seatbelt on.
Yeah.
100 kilometres, mate, and I'll see something, I'll just pull up a big U-turn and I'll know exactly what it was. I'll be saying it, and just at a glimpse, and I'll be saying what it was as I passed it. So.
Wow. And do you have something like a favourite that you look forward to every year, or is there something that really, every season you're like, I can't wait for the Kwandongs to come on, I can't wait for or is part of the beauty of it that because there is seasonality to it, there's something happening every month, every week that's new and hasn't, wasn't on last week, it's just at its peak this week.
I'm a big ambassador for the sandalwood, so especially Kwandong, so that's one of your sandalwood species. And when the fruit's ripe, it looks like Christmas bubbles sitting on the tree.
Yeah.
But it also entails to us, we don't hunt the male emu at that specific time because he's busy either on the nest with the chicks, on the nest with the eggs, or he's walking with his chicks looking for food, and the desert Kwandong, if it's red, that's where he's heading.
So that's amazing that when ingredients are like, or the way that food comes on in the bush is almost like a calendar that doesn't just talk about itself but talks about other things. I know where I am on Yuin country on the south coast, when the currawongs come down from the mountain to the coast, the bluefin tuna are on. Yeah. So that's incredible, and like without fail, like everyone's ever heard of Bermagui. really world famous game fishing ports where I live, home of the blue tuna, home of the striped and black marlin. And without fail, if I wake up, because we've got a big eucalypt tree outside my bedroom window, and a couple of times a year it fills up with currawongs because I'm right on the coast, I can guarantee later that day I'll go onto the local fishing page and people will have got a big haul of bluefin tuna.
Yeah. So there's certain tea trees. So from my part of the country, there's certain tea trees. So I'm a bundling man, so northern New South Wales, south West Queensland. Some of them trees, when they come into flower, that means that the mud crabs are full. So yeah, there's all sorts of different things that tell you different bits about what's happening in the vicinity.
Yeah, and that's like one of the things that I love about, bush tucker, native Australian ingredients, is that there's a bigger story, right? Like it's telling you more about the landscape than just that one plant that's in front of you. So you can't separate one from the other. It's a part of this rich tapestry of connection of the natural world. I love it. All right, Doug, have you ever tried steak tartare before?
No.
Are you keen?
I can't eat spice, actually.
Oh, you can't eat spice?
No.
So no chili? Okay. Are you just saying that because you don't want to eat raw steak?
No, I was actually a big fan of chili. Chili, onion and garlic were my 3 favourite food groups. No longer.
Oh, sorry to hear, mate. Well, I think it works incredibly for the steak tartare. Ladies and gentlemen, huge round of applause for Doug from Native Oz Bush Foods. Their tent's just over there. Everyone. He's a legend. Doug, you guys are the biggest Indigenous-owned food company in Australia, or up there, one up there, yeah. Incredible. And some of it, like, this is so good. I can't recommend it highly enough. I'm going to smash it in about 2 seconds, I reckon. But Doug, you're a legend. Always love catching up with you, mate.
No worries. Thanks, mate.
Hopefully see you next time. A round of applause for Doug. Ladies and gentlemen. So I've got some steak tartare here ready to test. I don't know. Yes, Rachel. Our first guinea. Oh, you're going to take it around. I thought you were just putting your hand up to eat it all. Oh, okay. Well, that's sorted then. How am I using these teaspoons? Or you got some down there, or you take those ones? There we go. Now, make sure, ladies and gentlemen, that you don't double dip. Okay. Now, I personally don't really care, but with River Cottage, right, we did some pretty controversial things on TV, or stuff that you don't see on TV every day. I'm one of the very few people that has plucked a chicken on national television, and that's something that I wear with pride. We're also one of the only programs to ever kill a goat on national television, not in a sacrificial way, but just in like, we raised it, we want to eat it, it was delicious. And I thought that when that went to air, that we were going to get like huge pushback from the vegan, from the animal welfare community. In fact, it was the polar opposite. So I was ready for the internet explosion when we put the goat episode on. And I got all these like animal activists, all the vegan community texting me on social media going, actually, you should show more of this because this is what we're talking about. Most people don't see this. We want it on TV because it's confronting for people. And if someone sees that and go, oh, I don't think I can eat meat after seeing how it's done, then they're stoked for that. But the most controversial thing that we ever did, the thing that had the biggest impact out of anything that happened on River Cottage, was when I double dipped. Not only did I double dip just for myself, I was making a pumpkin risotto for the branch president of the CWA, Mary Williams. And I had a little taste. I thought it needed a bit of salt. I adjusted the salt. I had another little taste. I heard a distant rumbling of the angry keyboard people furiously typing away. I got called every name under the sun for double dipping, and double dipping the CWA branch president's pumpkin risotto, which is so crazy because Mary's a country lady. She's lives on a farm. She's president of the CWA, for God's sake. And I said, Mary, hey, just so you know, there was a little bit of outrage, and I want full disclosure. I don't want you to find out from someone else. I double dipped. I used the same spoon twice when I made your pumpkin risotto. And she's like, and? I was like, well, people were really upset. People were like abusing me on the internet because I did. She's like, oh, for God's sake. She's like, I don't even use a spoon. I taste with my finger. I was like, oh, Mary, see? So she didn't care. So don't worry. And I'm not trying to do a magic trick here. I'm not like, and it's a Ferrari. Don't worry. The blocking the heat coming through there a little bit. So I've got 20 minutes. One dish that didn't involve any cooking, cooked 40 minutes. So if I ever release a cookbook called Paul's 15-Minute Meals, you have absolute permission to call total BS on it, okay? I'm really trying not to swear with kids here and on stage. Because it just doesn't exist. So there's another one here as well if you missed out on that first one. So now the recipe card, which you're more than welcome to take home, there's a stack of them. The lovely team from Lockyer Valley are going to hand them around later. Involved making a kind of flatbread, a really simple bread from scratch. But I'm just conscious that I'm going to run out of time. So what I am going to do is use this beautiful sourdough, and I'm going to use this chili metwurst, and we're going to pan fry some sourdough. Is there pan fried bread? Oh, the day our toaster broke down was the best thing ever. Like, what are we going to do? I was like, we're going to pan fry the bread, babe. Every piece of toast is going to be pan fried. We're going to fry it in butter. And it's really hard to go back. A little bit of olive, a little bit of oil first so the butter doesn't burn, but then you get the butter foaming. Cook your toast in foaming butter. Oh, get a bit of jam on top of that. Oh, that's about as good as a piece of toast gets. Now, so what I want to do, again, the metwurst, delicious, beautiful cured meat, and you've got an incredible tradition here of continental small good making that dates back much further than arriving in the Lockyer Valley. So there's a lot of oil in that, but that's a good thing. So when I pan fry the metwurst, I'm going to keep the pan, reserve that oil, and I'm going to use it to fry the bread in because it's going to be good. So I need something to just help cut through the kind of fattiness of the metwurst and that rich flavour. So one of my favourite things to grow at home are radishes. I did not grow these at home, just FYI. I'm not trying to pretend here. Does everyone grow a food garden at home? Anyone got a veggie patch? You two are onto it. You know what's going on. You're killing your own goats, you're growing veggies. Legends. But does anyone have kids, get a garden with kids on the go at home? If you want to get your kids into gardening, radishes are one of the best things to start off on because they grow so quick. Because kids, they're not necessarily the most patient little creatures in the world. These will germinate in a couple of days. You'll be able to eat them from about 2 weeks out, and it's 3 to 4 weeks max for something this size. And anyone who says, I just can't get my kids to eat veggies, is because they're not doing it out of a vegetable garden. My wife is an early childhood educator, and they've got an amazing little preschool next to the amazing community garden next to the preschool. And if you reckon kids don't eat veggies, chuck them into a community garden, tell them what they can eat, and watch the swarm of locusts descend. The parents stand there gobsmacked. The parents are like, they're eating everything. They're eating like lettuce, they're eating carrots straight out of the ground, they're eating peas, none of it's cooked. Like, how do you do it? It's like, because kids get it. If you put a plate of steamed cabbage or boiled cabbage on there and go, eat your veggies because it's good for you, kids are too smart for that. They're going to go, no thanks, that's gross. But if you put them into a garden and get them on the treasure hunt where they're looking and searching and exploring and looking for all that wonderful food, then you'll be amazed at just how enthusiastically they eat their vegetables. So I'm getting low on the spoon count here. Now, that's actually why I put this shield up, because I'm going to double dip. But the camera's there. Now we have a little taste of that. Now, this basic pickling liquid is 2 parts vinegar, 1 part water, and that's enough to preserve most things. You don't necessarily have to add salt or sugar. They're more for just the flavour. That level of acidity is enough to preserve. I'm going to just do a tiny little bit more sugar in there, and I'm also going to give a little bit of salt. Actually, I'm going to use Doug's salt while it's here. Don't worry about that stuff. Here we go. Beautiful. Give that... use a fresh spoon now. And you'll notice, so there's a little bit of great River Coach trivia that you can do, where look for the episode where I double dip and go, he's told us about that story, outrageous, how could he? And then watch every subsequent episode after, where there is this elaborate palaver of me really clearly changing spoons. Because the producers always want to avoid controversy. I'm like, can't I just use my elbow or my finger or something? Let's stick it to those annoying keyboard warriors. But they're like, no, people have complained. People have complained. So you'll see I'm washing my hands and I'm double dipping. Yeah, okay, that's good. So for the pickle here, Now you can put whole radishes in, you can pop them in half. In this instance, I'm just going to take the top and the tail off and give it a nice little thin slice into little discs like that. Now, pickling is a form of preservation. Using the pickling liquid like this, it's not like long-term storage stable. So if I slice this and just put the pickles in there, I couldn't then put that in a jar and then put it in the cupboard for 6 months. I'd probably give someone botulism. So if I wanted to preserve that, I would put it into a jar, and then you've got to, the Americans call it canning, we call it water bathing, where you then put it into like a pot of water, you boil it for about 15 minutes, and you let it cool down, and then that is shelf stable. So this is a quick, or otherwise known as a fridge pickle. And radishes and red onion are my two favourite things to quick pickle, because they're so simple, they give a really nice vibrant pop of colour. The perfect thing for a quick pickle. So just going to get this on there. There we go, look at that. Look at that. How am I going? I've got 15 minutes. The pressure's on now. I feel like I'm on MasterChef. Will Paul finish the pan-fried bread and chili wurst before the 15-minute timer goes up? Who's on after this? Tracy? I'm going to hold the show up. Peter's on. He's going to come up soon. I reckon about 5 minutes. He's sweet. He's laughing. And then we're going. Once I start frying that metwurst, I'm going to get him up here. So I've already dissolved the sugar and the salt, so I don't need to do anything else with that. The radishes can just go straight in, nice and thinly sliced. That doesn't need to go there anymore because it's not on. All right, we're getting close here. And now pickling is something that we do a lot of in the West residence. Especially at the end of summer when you're starting to get a lot of stuff coming out of the garden. Pickled zucchini, pickled cucumbers. Does everyone grow zucchinis here? Everyone at the garden people, you grow zucchinis, don't you? You definitely grow zucchinis. But they're so abundant. You know, it's for us on the South Coast, we start planting them now. I'll get my first, fruit coming off them probably mid-October. And it's so exciting. The first zucchinis of the year, you spend a long winter, you're just eating greens and peas and stuff out of the garden and finally get this first big, abundant, summer-like plant. And the first one, you're like, oh, delish. And then the second one comes, and the third, and the fourth, and the fifth, and they never stop. They just keep coming and coming and coming. And I always have a rush of blood at the beginning of spring and plant like 10 zucchinis. And I never learn my lesson. Any year, I always go, yeah, spring's here, time to plant way too many zucchinis. And so in the end, we can't even eat even close to how many are growing in the garden. So we've just almost got a non-stop zucchini pickle factory going on. And one of the great things about that is because when it goes to winter next year and the garden's looking a little bit lean, I don't know, do your veggie gardens even stop here in Queensland? You're growing like tomatoes in winter, aren't you? Yeah, growing tomatoes in winter. Well, on the South Coast, ours shut down from about late April to early May. If you haven't planted things by the end of March, you can pretty much kiss them goodbye until this time of year. So give that a little bit of stir in there. Oh yeah, can you hear this? You get a microphone in there as well. Smells good, looks good. So that's just a little pickle in there. So next up, I'm going to fry up some metwurst. I'm going to serve it with the rocket on the bread with the chili pickle. I was going to make a tapenade, but there's not a steak tartare here if you want to keep doing the lunch with that. Otherwise, I wouldn't say no if I had that for my lunch. What did I even point it out? Take it, no, take it. Whoops. Only got 2 left. So now we're on to the delicious chili metwurst. Oh, what's that?
I might do one spoon. I'm going to scoop in people's hands.
Oh, into their heads. Oh, see, that's what I love about country Australia. They're like, I haven't got a spoon. Don't worry, mate. Just scoop it into my hand. Oh, see, just love it. Excuse me. Do you have any spare cutlery? None of that. Do you have the silverware? You'd be right. I thought we were going to actually go and scoop it into their open mouths. It's like, that's service. You don't get that at every festival. You only get that at the Laidley. Oh, jeez. The heat's getting to me. Nearly running out of town. So the double dipping used to be the biggest controversy. until I called Laidley on stage. Don't worry, I live on the south coast. I keep mentioning that, but we've got some really curly town pronouncing names as well, like Quamma. Korma, of course. Of course. It's always good when people go, so, should I go and visit Quamma? Yeah. Not from around here, eh? So forgive me, please. That was a slip of the tongue. All right, so I'm going to just slice this lovely chili metwurst now. And now's probably a good time to get Pete up here as well. Mr. Schulte himself. Do you want to come on up? Come on up. Big round of applause for the metwurst master, Mr. Schulte himself. If you haven't been over to their incredible shop front, just on the other side of the high, that was a great. You were on to it. I said big round of applause. Good to see you again, Peter.
Thank you.
Good to have you back, mate.
No worries.
And amazing to be looking at some of your incredible metwurst again. So, can you just explain the difference between like a salami, a sausage, a metwurst? Like how do they all differ?
Yeah, so basically a sausage, your normal frying sausage, is just raw meat that you have to cook.
Yes.
So it's just mince, herbs, some fillers in it sometimes. We make a few that don't have any fillers in.
Beautiful.
It's just meat and seasoning.
Oh.
And then you have salami, which is just air dried.
Yes.
So you mince it up, herbs, you put your curing salts and that sort of thing in, then it gets air dried, humidity and that sort of thing.
Yes.
And then you have our metwurst, which is exactly the same way, but we smoke it as well.
Oh.
So it just adds that extra flavour.
And is there not like a tiny bit of fermentation that happens in a metwurst as well?
So metwurst is shelf stable.
Yes.
So you can just hang it out and it'll slowly dry out until it's rock hard, but it'll still be fine to eat.
That's incredible.
It is.
And that obviously comes from a tradition as when we were raising, because this is mainly pork, right?
Yes.
Yeah, all pork.
No.
I know. Pork and beef.
Yep.
So what I learned about the traditions of meat preserving when I was living on the farm was that, I kind of touched on this before, that when you first kill the animal, you eat the offal because it's fresh and you don't have to hang it. And then often you go to the kind of premium barbecuing, grilling cuts. But in an era before refrigeration, like if you killed a pig, it might be 100 kilos of meat and you haven't got a deep freezer. So what did you do? You turned it into something like this.
Yeah, made it into things that kept.
Yeah, and the seasonal timing of it as well in traditional farming was spring, and that'd be raised over the summer and spring. So that they'd be fattened on the abundance of summer. Like when the vegetable gardens got more waste, so the pigs would get fattened. They'd be killed in autumn, and then they'd be air dried in winter when it was naturally cooler anyway.
Yes, air drier and works better. And
I mean, Germany has hard winters, right? Like so you're not going and picking stuff out of the vegetable garden. So this was an amazing food source that you could grow over summer, and then it could sustain your family through winter, like along with sauerkraut and other like dried beans and things like that. It's incredible.
You have your cellar full of smallwoods and wine.
Now, sauerkraut's another one of those things, right? I kind of mentioned steak tartare, I mentioned haggis, and I think that sauerkraut falls into that category of, on paper, doesn't sound amazing. Fermented cabbage. Every kid out there is lining up for fermented cabbage, but when you actually eat it, especially when you have it with something like a metwurst,
or on a hot dog.
The best. Yeah. It's the perfect foil for something like a metwurst.
Especially like you were saying, frying the bread in butter.
Oh, you know the good stuff.
Well, I grew up as a kid having steak tartare. My dad always had it. We had our own abattoir and process everything ourselves. So he'd mince it up the next day, just some nice fresh meat, and have it on bread with raw egg and onion.
Oh, see? Perfect.
Raw egg, onion and salt and pepper. It's just beautiful.
That's it. And it doesn't have to be complicated, right? It's so simple when you've got those good ingredients. I'm just going to have to put this little secret business behind there, just because that wind is just sucking the heat out of that pan. And so metwurst creation, butchery, that's not something you just picked up as a career change midlife, was it?
No, my dad learned it in Germany. He came out when he was 19.
Yep.
And come to Lockyer Valley and he met Mum, and it's as far as he got. He actually wanted to be a chef in Canada.
Yeah, right.
But he met Mum, and it's as far as he got. So her parents helped him, and then I've taken over the business, and my son actually now is factory manager, so he's fourth generation. So
that's fantastic.
Yeah, 42 years we've been in the valley.
And if people were interested in getting some, you're open today, just north of the highway. It's so good. If you haven't tried the Schulte's Metwurst and their sausages, well, one, you get to try some right now. What have the team got here to give away?
So these are our new salami sticks, just a single one. I've changed Dad's recipe a little bit, so this is actually my recipe.
Was that controversial? Did you tell him, or is this the first time? Yeah.
I only done it after he died. So.
Okay, good. Smart.
But I didn't tell Mum about it. But no, they're going well, so I brought a heap in for everyone to have a try.
Oh, lucky them. Tuck in. So I'm just going to get a little bit of colour on that. And what happens as you're frying it as well, some of that fat renders out, and so that'll mix with the olive oil, and then that's what I'll use to fry this delicious sourdough in. So we're really lucky to have the Schulte family here in the Lockyer Valley. As you said, fourth generation here, but the tradition that your father brought here dates back much further than that.
Much further, years, hundreds of years. So, and we actually won regional best beef sausage this week as well. So, which is good.
Oh, well, see, because a good, I like pork, small goods, but I like a beef sausage, and it's something that is disappearing from the landscape. What I don't like is a supermarket sausage.
Yeah.
You know, like where it's got the list, it's got 45,000 ingredients in. Yeah. There's nothing going on with it. But when you get a really good butcher-made beef sausage, it's a thing of absolute beauty, and I'd be happy to travel the lengths of the world to get some. So,
and it's a good thing you were saying before about all these cooking shows and that.
Yeah.
We used to have to sit up and watch every one of them because the next day everyone would be in the shop wanting
ready
that product. They'd cook beef cheeks, next day the freezer would be empty.
Yeah. So that goes then to show the power of food media, and when it was simple, it was a really good thing because people felt like they do it. Well, now I feel like when it was simple, people go, I can do that, and they would. Yeah. But now they go, that's too complex, I can't. So I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to go and do that. I don't want to break down into tears cooking a Peter Gilmore snow egg. All right, that's just about done. I'll let you off the hook, Peter. You're a legend, mate. It's always a pleasure. Thank you for providing the amazing Metwurst. Huge round of applause for Peter Schulte, third generation Metwurst master. Now you can see there. Look at that. You want to get in? Can you get in there? Don't get the hot fat on the lens. See that? See that beautiful oil down the bottom? That's what I'm talking about. Now, fat is the good stuff, right? I'm not a cardiologist, not a dietitian, so take my advice for what it's worth. But when it comes to cooking, fat is flavour. That was like one of the first things we were ever taught as an apprentice on day one. It's like, you want to make good food good, you want to make it taste good, fat is flavour, learn to season. They were the two key things that we did. So I'm not going to waste that. When fat gets a little bit bad is when we make hydrogenated vegetable oils, things like that. They're a bit nastier, but when it comes from beautiful meat like this, then that's the good stuff. So I'm just going to get a tiny little bit more colour. I'm running out of time. I've got 3 minutes. George Columbaris will be here bouncing on his toes going, he's not going to make it. Trying to get the pressure cooker going on me. Sorry, George, you're not here. You're still trying to pay off your staff debts. Controversial, sorry. Sorry about that. I was working in the Melbourne restaurant scene at the time that went down, so this was a little bit of a bugbear for a lot of people. Anyway, I'm over it. Here we are, 7 years later, still making jokes about it. I'm over it. So just about done. So while this is just wrapping up, because I can appreciate that I'm running over time here, who would have thought? Who would have thought? Who would have thought we'd run over time? Not me. So if anyone's got any questions, now's the time, because I'm going to try and multitask here. I'm going to try and answer any questions that anyone's got, and I'm going to try and finish this dish in a record time of 2 minutes. Pressure's on. No, you just finish your dish so you can get off. When I see the band. Oh, you want to try? Okay. I feel good about that now. So, what am I going to put that in? I've got a bowl down here. So I'm just going to get these delicious metwurst out. But I don't want the oil to, I don't want to tip it all out because I want the oil in the pan because the oil's for the bread. Look at that. So if there are any cardiologists in the audience, you're probably going, oh my God, he's trying to kill people. Look at all that fat. Look at all those clogging arteries. No, this is the good stuff. Everything in moderation, including moderation itself, as the great saying goes. All right, look at that. So now we've got a nice mixture of olive oil and chili metwurst fat in there. That is bread frying gold. Other things that I would fry in that would be eggs. Would be another thing that I would consider frying in that that delicious concoction of oil. And then I'm just going to get one more piece of bread in there. Here we go. I'm going to take that piddly little bit out. I'm going to put that other big bit in there. I'm going to keep that for my own lunch. All right, so, and I'm going to start cleaning up here a little bit. So we're just about done. And really what you've seen here is my little celebration of some of the amazing produce you've got here in the Lockyer Valley. And you've got to keep it simple. You've got to keep, and you've got to embrace what you've got on your doorstep. When you've got amazing produce like the Schulte's metwurst, like you've got these amazing Cedar Gully olives that I didn't get to use. You've got Native Oz bush foods. You've got all this incredible stuff here. Hi, Shane. Hi, Shane. So what are you saying? Oh, it's time to go. Wrap it up. Okay. Paw Patrol are going to chase me off. I've got 15. Oh, heaps of time. Why would you tell me that? Tracy's giving me the truth. Because then I just took the accelerator, went from there to back here. 15 minutes. Settle in, everyone. We've got heaps of time. All right, what am I going to put this on? This plate here. 2 seconds to fry that bread. Let me just do a quick taste tester on this one. Oh, it's good. Oh, you'll get some. Don't worry. You'll get some of the whole kit and caboodle. All right. So that's pretty good. Give that a little bit of a flip. I probably would normally get a little bit more colour on that, but clock is ticking. So as long as it's got enough to get just a little bit of texture on there, a little bit of brownness, I'm happy. And then we're going to pop that with the pickled radish, the metwurst, a little bit of rocket. Actually, that chili metwurst is so good. Are you worried over there? You're like going, we need to get the band on. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. Maybe we could do like a mashup where someone cooks while the band's playing in the background. It's the table needs to go. Don't worry, I'll be here to help. Don't worry. And then exit stage left. I'm here to help. God, never saw him again. So a little bit of pasta. Right?
Hours.
Yeah, plenty of time. I'm going to put that parsley over the metwurst just to help balance that out a little bit. Okay, let's do it. So, tongs, wunderbar. Oh yeah. So I got a little fried bread, fried in metwurst fat. That is living, ladies and gentlemen. Where's my okay? Where'd the rocket go? What's under here? There we go, a little bit of that beautiful. You've been such a wonderfully patient and supportive audience. Thank you very much. I'm going to use this. No, I'm going to use my fingers on this. Oh, yeah. Look at that. I don't know how we're going to serve this to everyone. You're going to have to fight it in your hands, exactly. You're going to have to fight over it, I think. And then I've got a little bit of that on there, and then some pickled radish on top. And this is the kind of super simple stuff that if I wasn't up here trying to tell bad jokes and try to distract you with stories while I was cooking, then really it could take you just a few minutes, maybe even 15 minutes to prepare this from scratch. But maybe not. Maybe it takes you a little bit closer to an hour. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. There's some cookery with some beautiful Lockyer Valley. Oh, you're a bit sun-wilted after sitting in the sun for an hour. Oh, he's done. Finally, I can go get a beverage. If you are looking for a refreshing drink after that, really, really recommend one of these bush bubbles from the legends over at Native Oz Bush Foods. They're really delicious. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. It's such a pleasure being here in the beautiful Lockyer Valley. I'm going to be over at the Australian Organic Farms Red Truck for the next 3 hours. So if you want to come say good day, please do. I'll be there. And I'll probably chew your ear off. Here comes the team. Yes, team. I haven't made a mess at all.
Would you like to serve?
I'll figure it out. Yeah. Thanks so much, everyone. I'm going to chop this up, bring some around for everyone to have a little try as best I can. Where's mine? There it is. There we go. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, how about a big round of applause for our 2024 Festival Ambassador, Mr. Paul West.
Tracy, thank you. Thank you, everyone.
We love having him down here in the valley. Now remember, at 1:15, if he ever finishes on the stage, we'll get him over to the Big Red Fruiters truck over there. And he's going to be, for the first 20 people, they will get a Laidley Spring Festival tote bag with a sample of Australian organic farmers' produce in there. And Rachel's doing the big show and tell down the front there. Thank you, Rach. Yep. And if you do miss out on the first 20, look, it's $5 to buy a tote bag and get some Australian organic farmers' produce in there. And it will be going to a very, very good cause with the Gatton Community Centre. So we do hope you'll bump along and do that. Now, I just really want to tell you, sorry, Paul, while you clean up. No, you're good. I want to tell you that the extraordinary tent show with the Crack Up Sisters is about to get underway over there.